Hello friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Let's start our video with another story about a crazy neighbor who tried to get a 60-year-old man to cut the grass and shovel snow in his yard. Ugh, some people. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Why won't you mow my lawn or cut my grass? My dad used to help some elderly people with health problems in his neighborhood with cutting their grass, clearing their snow, etc. One day, one of his neighbors, a 30-year-old lady, turned up on his doorstep out of the blue and started shouting at him because he wasn't mowing her lawn in the summer or shoveling her snow in the winter. She didn't have any health issues, etc. my dad was aware of, and had a husband who was healthy as well. She seriously came to my dad's door, a 60-year-old man with a bad knee himself that causes him to walk with a limp, and screamed at him that he wasn't coming and doing her yard work for free. She said it wasn't fair because he did it for other people. Again, these people were in their 80s and 90s. She was 30. My dad told her to get lost and take care of her own yard. She just kept berating him and even called him lazy, WTF, until he just shut the door. After that, whenever she saw him helping others, she'd shout insults at him and say he should be doing her yard or snow. It kept going until he moved a few years later. It was bizarre. It's also the reason I'm not surprised when I read a lot of stories on here. Some people just seem to be on another plane of entitled existence. Your father's a saint. I would have taken all the leaves and grass of all the neighbors and just thrown it on her lawn. And our second story, the revenge nudge. Background. My supervisor has been a bee to me for no reason for several months. I don't know why, and neither do my coworkers who generally like me. She criticizes my work even though it's average, never gives me credit for my ideas, but instead waits, then pretends it was her idea, and other bullcrap. I usually don't care, but after a few months of this, she got under my skin. Note for later. I pass her house on the way to work. She lives alone in a condo. Revenge. It was yesterday. I was heading home for the day, tired, bored, moseying towards my car. I hear the familiar brisk click-click of her shoes behind me. She passes me on the sidewalk, even slightly shoving me. Instead of apologizing, she gives some remark along the lines that I walk even slower than I think. I stopped dead in my tracks, dumbfounded by her rudeness while she walked on. Her phone rang, so she clawed it out of her purse and started talking loudly and laughing. She went on towards her car. That's when I saw them. Her hasty phone answering had swept her keys out of her purse, house, office, car, all in one bunch. They're on the curb. I acted on my lust for vengeance. I took 3 small steps, neck suddenly sweating, heart pounding, split-second decision. I did it. With my foot, I gave the keys the little nudge of revenge that they needed to slide off the curb and down a storm drain. As I pulled out of our lot with my blood rushing in my ears, she was still on her phone, rummaging through her purse, getting more flustered. I'd been at the office a few hours. Her car was still in the lot when I got here this morning. She came in late with murder in her eyes. She doesn't seem to suspect me. I'm thrilled and super nervous at the same time. Update. This is what I've overheard so far. As for new keys, a friend of hers across town had a spare for her condo, and she had a spare for the car at home. So minor hassle. But it's her last spare for the car. Risky. And dealerships around here charge $100 to $200 depending on make and year for an extra key. Now the office key is a horse of a different color. Rumor around the coffee pot is that she might be on the hook for replacing every lock for the exterior doors. Property manager's gonna talk to the insurance company today. If they say this violates the liability, oh man, certified locksmiths, heavy-duty security locks, new keys for entire staff. Looks like your vacation will be in-state this year, B. I haven't been this productive in weeks, mainly because I keep my face buried in work so that nobody will see my smug grin. I don't believe in some magical unseen force of karma. I believe this kind of story is exactly what karma is. if you're a giant a-hole to everyone, they're going to do everything in their power to make life more difficult. And our last story. You're getting married? But what about my cruise? Cast: GC, good cousin; Paul, good husband, good cousin's husband; Amanda, good cousin's twin sister. So this story doesn't involve me too much, but I know quite a lot about Amanda's actions and behavior through stories family members and good cousin told me. Ever since we were little kids, my cousin, good cousin, and I have been best buds. We lived only a few miles away from one another, so we would bike to each other's houses, play in our backyards, and play video games. Good cousin comes from an extremely wealthy family. Her dad, my uncle, started a business when he was 20, and it's been super successful, to the point there are now several large locations across the globe. Even though this family is crazy rich, they live a very modest lifestyle. They live in a small 2-story home on a few acres of land, and a large pond takes up most of it. The one lavish thing they do is that every 2 or 3 years they go on a cruise. Good cousin is one of 3 children. She has an older brother and her identical twin sister, Amanda. You may think that the good twin, evil twin scenario is only seen on the TV screen, but good cousin and Amanda are the real-world equivalent. Good cousin is kind and generous, while Amanda is selfish and entitled. Amanda always has this idea in her head that because her dad was so wealthy, she didn't have to lift a finger in life to get what she wanted. Good things just came to her, good cousin, and their brother. But good cousin had the common sense to know that she can't always rely on daddy's money. Despite getting pretty much everything they wanted growing up, good cousin and her brother never had entitled attitudes. Their parents are also super nice, so Amanda was always the evil standout of the family. Amanda's attitude only got worse as time went on. Eventually, Amanda got married and had a kid, a boy. Amanda's husband is just as nasty as she is, so they were kind of made for each other. Amanda always wanted to rub her child in good cousin's face like she wanted to gloat about having a kid before she did. Good cousin had a history of bad relationships, including those that involved verbal and physical abuse. One time, she came to her sister for advice after her boyfriend beat her. Amanda had the nerve to blame her weight and not using makeup to make herself more attractive. Good cousin was afraid to date anyone after her last relationship disaster, but that changed when she finally met the man of her dreams, Paul. I met Paul personally, and he's a giant teddy bear of a guy. He's the perfect guy to help heal good cousin's old wounds and give her the loving, happy life she deserves. Then, nearly 2 years after they met, good cousin and Paul were engaged. The entire family was thrilled that good cousin finally got the man of her dreams, and her father wanted to throw a boatload of money to her to help pay for a beautiful wedding. For future reference, he did the same thing for Amanda when she got married, yet Amanda was not happy about how extravagant good cousin's wedding was going to be. Good cousin wanted to be married at Niagara Falls and invite basically everyone she knew, and her father was going to pay for pretty much all of it. Amanda was furious. She talked to good cousin and their father about the wedding and how all the money being spent better not interfere with the family's upcoming cruise. Yes, they still went on cruises together every few years despite the children being grown and having families of their own. Their father said that because of the wedding and how expensive it was going to be, the family cruise would have to be pushed back another year or two. Amanda practically exploded. She blamed good cousin for taking the cruise away from her and her precious boy, who was 5 at this point. She said she told her son how they were going on a cruise and how he's going to be so upset now because his selfish aunt wanted to get married instead of giving him a happy week in the tropics. Amanda even had the audacity to demand good cousin to reschedule the wedding for next year so they could go on the cruise instead. Good cousin, who's normally not a confrontational person, had it with her sister's attitude and told her if she wanted to go on a cruise, she would have to pay for it herself. Amanda and her husband were nowhere near as wealthy as their father, and there was no way he was going to reschedule his own daughter's wedding just to give Amanda what she wanted. Amanda's ranting went on for weeks, flipping back and forth between blaming her sister for ruining her son's year and begging her father for money to go on a cruise because she and her family deserved it. She drove good cousin to tears, and she ended up calling me for advice. My only advice to her was to give Amanda, who normally gets everything, nothing. And by nothing, I mean don't invite her to the wedding. Like most sisters would do, Good Cousin wanted Amanda to be one of her bridesmaids, as she was a bridesmaid at Amanda's wedding. Not inviting her would be a major upset for everyone involved, but it just may be the thing to teach Amanda a lesson. So she did just that. Good Cousin called up her sister and flat out told her if she didn't change her attitude, she didn't want it leaving a sour taste at her wedding. Again, Amanda blew up, shouting at Good Cousin, calling her all sorts of names, and again blaming her for the cruise being canceled. Good Cousin hung up and decided not to invite her to the wedding. The wedding was amazing, and I ended up being the bridesmaid to take Amanda's place. Yes, I was invited to the wedding originally, but Good Cousin didn't want me to be a bridesmaid only because she knew I hated dresses and I'd rather wear a suit, but I said I'd wear a dress just for her special day. It's been a few years now, and Good Cousin and Paul have a beautiful little girl and have a baby boy on the way. Amanda is still in their lives and is still as nasty as ever, but she doesn't come to her father begging for anything anymore because after her behavior towards him and Good Cousin, he threatened to leave her out of his will if she continued to pester either of them. Maybe now that she's not going to get everything handed to her on a silver platter, she'll change her attitude for the better. Or at least that's what we're all wishing to happen. I'm surprised that Amanda didn't try to show up in a wedding dress at the wedding and try to take the spot as the bride. I mean, they are identical twins after all. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.